Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a preview of the Verteidigungsbereich Toulon, which is a new division available in the upcoming Nemesis DLC, Storming Toulon. As a disclaimer, Eugen did give me free access to the DLC, so a big thanks to them. Also, please remember that this is an early preview, and what you are about to see may be subject to change. If you'd like to read the description on the right hand side, feel free to pause the video and take a look, but I'm going to be jumping straight on in as always. As usual, we'll be going through all of the units available, and then I'm going to be putting together a quick deck. Let's start in the Recon tab. And of course, it's got to be a motorcycle, right? The BMW R35, it's always there. It's always there staring back at me. It's going to cost 10 points, it's got the Recon, it's got the radio, standard stuff. I've talked about it so many times before, it's unbelievable. Then we have a Sharpshooter squad. It's not really a squad, just a single man with a sniper. He's just a single Sharpshooter, and he has exceptional stealth. Good for, sniping, maybe some support weapons, but honestly, if anything fires at it, he's going to die. So you got to treat these more like Aufklärer squads, and then use the sniper in a pinch. Then there's the Spähtrupp. The Spähtrupp squads are pretty standard. They can come in the traction truck here, or vehicle, I guess, car. And then they can also be brought in with the Lafley, which is a recon car. A very funky looking recon car, which has a machine gun on it. But it doesn't have any armor, so this will just act like a Kubel MG, for example. But the MG is actually decent-ish. I guess it's a bit higher caliber than the MG34, I believe, that the Kubel gets. The Sharpshooter, they can also be brought in the Kubel and the Traction. Then we have the Fuselage Squads. These are pretty standard. They have been buffed. Their price is slightly lower now. But 2 MP40s, 6 Kar98s, an MG34. The MG34 can't fire within 100 meter range, so bear that in mind. But the fact they have 2 SMGs will allow them to beat other units like Strelki, I believe, that only have one SMG at close range. So that's something that you can definitely take advantage of. They're exceptional stealth, meaty recon squads. So that's probably what you're going to use them for, just like straight up recon as opposed to combat for the most part. Then we have a very, very interesting squad. These are the Marine Commandos. These are 4-man squads, 3 MP40s, 1 sniper. But as you can see, these MP40s are suppressed. And I believe, or so I've been told, the suppressor actually has a gameplay mechanic involved. So infantry, when they fire, they produce what is called in game as a mechanic, noise. And basically, the more noise a unit has, the easier it is for that unit to be spotted. Now, the nice thing about the MP40s is they don't create noise, as far as I'm aware, so it takes a lot longer for your units to spot them, even at the close range, as long as the Kar98 is turned off and they don't throw their HE grenade. So apparently this does work, but it would be a very, very niche situation that you'd actually want to make sure that you turn off the sniper and the HE to engage at close range. It'd be kind of interesting. Anyway, you get 2 of these in A, 4 in B. Very interesting squad. 4 strength, recon, and radio. With the... It says smoke there, but I'm not even sure if they actually have smoke or if it's just not shown on the card. But either way, a very interesting unit and a very, very cool uniforms that they have as well with those beanies on their head. Very cool little squad there. Right, next up we have the infantry tab, so the Grenadiers with the MG099. This is the Br21, MP40, Kar98s, 20-point squad. This is classed as an automatic rifle, so it can fire within the minimum range of 100 meters. So once again, just going to rehash that. The light machine guns and machine guns from this patch forward will not be able to shoot within 100 meters range. They'll have a minimum range of 100 meters. Automatic rifles, however, will be able to. So you can see that the MG34 is classed as a light machine gun, says they're just above it, and the Br30 is classed as an automatic rifle. So that means that technically the grenadiers with the MG 009 and these grenadiers with Panzerfaust, like these grenadiers will be better technically at close quarters combat because they can use their machine gun. Anyway, these grenadiers are still going to be useful because they do have a Panzerfaust, and it's a very cheap sort of line infantry squad for town engagements, where a Panzerfaust can also be useful next to the roads to pop enemy armor or half tracks. So yeah, you got to kind of get a balance now between infantry that can use its machine gun at close range and infantry that doesn't use its machine gun at close range, and it's going to be kept at a distance. Then we have the KM Landesschützen, the Kriegsmarine. These guys have the Carcano M91 rifle and an FM 2429. The 10-man disheartened squads. Not the best bet, really, out of all of the infantry that you have here. But they're an interesting unit for sure, with some cool uniforms. So, nice flavour unit there. And then we have the Kriegsmarine Marine Infantry, which is the more standard frontline infantry. 20 points again, way better, as you can see. And you get 3 cards of them. So 2 MP28s for like close range SMG engagements. You got 9 Kart 98s, and you got the MG 0815, which is a light machine gun, so can't be used within 100 meter range. They have a strength of 12 though, which is really nice, and they have an AT grenade, which can be useful for popping things at close range. But it really depends. Like most of the time, those anti-tank grenades come in handy when you have infantry in forests and your opponent drives like tanks or half tracks near them. That's generally the time that this gets used. But anyway, they are a very decent squad for the price. Really, really good because of the strength that they have. Then we have the Ost Legionnaire, another 20-point squad, which is disheartened. These actually have only 9 men with a PPSH, 7 Mosins, and a DP. DP is classed as a light machine gun, so can't be used within the 100 meter range. But again, disheartened, they're even worse than the KM Landesschützen, because at least the Landesschützen can use their machine gun at close range. I guess the lack of a submachine gun is quite a big difference though. So yeah, it's tough to distinguish between the KM Landesschützen and the Ost Legionnaire, but they're both kind of trash anyway, so you probably wouldn't want to bring them. Then we have the Citrons, the standard Citrons squad, MP40, Kar98s, MG15 with the Granatbuchse, which is really nice for popping half tracks with the 60mm of penetration heat round. That's really, really cool. So they are available. And then you got the Grunführer, pretty standard stuff. These don't really come with any super nice transports. You can get the traction. Same goes really for all of the other troops. You can get like the Lafley, which is slightly faster. Or no, it's actually the same speed as the DMA. I thought it would be faster. But all of these have pretty dire options really for transports. So no like half tracks or anything like that. So yeah, standard Gunführer, has a smoke grenade, has the radio. Yeah, we've seen them before. Pioneer squads, again, we've seen them before. 2 MP40s, 7 Kar98s, MD34 HE grenade, 10 of them. No nice transports for those. Sturm Pioneers, again, pretty standard stuff. 5 MP40s with the Flammenwerfer and a smoke grenade. Then we have a new unit, the Brandenburger. Now these guys have 4 MP40s, 6 G43s, and 2 MG42s. Not MG43s, MG42s. So their damage is actually very significant at range. And you bring them in at 2-star veterancy. You have to bring them at 2-star veterancy. You get 4 in Phase A or 8 in Phase B. Now the thing is about this MG42 is it's really, really nice accompanied with the G43s, but if things get close to you, then you're going to unleash with 4 MP40s and the HE bundle grenade. So that's really, really cool. They also have the Raider trait, so they have very good stealth. And yeah, very, very awesome squad. Really, really awesome squad. And great uniforms. Really, really like the uniforms on these guys. Very, very nice. So a very strong squad for 30 points. The availability is lacking, but it is to be expected with a unit that is this good. Then we have the KM Führer. These guys have 2 MP28s, the Kar98 and the 2 MG34s with smoke grenades. These are actually a pretty good leader, but you just don't get many of them. You only get 2 in Phase A, 4 in B, 6 in C, and yeah, whilst they do have like the very good stealth there with the radio and the smoke, with 2 MG34s, like their availability really does let them down quite a bit. Then we have the KM Pioneer. Now this is a squad that I actually kind of like quite a bit. It's very much like I'm trying to think of the name of the squad. There's a squad in like Crixberlin. They have like a HE grenade and heat, obviously Panzerschterlong. And these are like a squad that's not disheartened, so it's really, really cool. They got 2 MP28s and they've got 5 Kar98s with the close range HE option and an AT. And they come in at like standard availability. It's just that you have to bring them in at 1 vet. So like a normal Pioneer would be like 5A, 10B, 15C. Obviously you have to bring them at 1 vet, so you get slightly less each phase, but it's still good because you're going to make them 3-star vet anyway, most likely. And at close range, like they're going to get destroyed by larger SMG squads and things like that that are specialized for close range engagements, but accompanying other frontline infantry, these could be really, really good support units if used correctly. Then we have Maro. I believe these guys are maybe Italian. I'm not entirely sure, but they have really, really interesting camos here. They have the Beretta M38 with Molotovs, Smurf uniforms, and yeah, fantastic close-range infantry squad. Main reason being is they're using Berettas, which have 150-meter range. There are some SMGs in this game that have 150-meter range instead of 100-meter range, and that does make a huge difference in close-range engagements, particularly around light cover and towns. So these are very, very strong indeed, and like 12-man SMG squads put out a lot of DPS, and the fact that you have to bring them at 1-star vet pushes their 65% accuracy up to like 74%, which is insane. So yeah, very, very strong, decent availability in the later phases as well. So certainly something to consider. Then we have the Triggs Millennium Besatzung. These guys are a 13-man fanatical squad with 5 MP40s, 5 Kar98s, and 3 MG34s. Now this division, its infantry, are really full of these machine guns. They really, really are. But this squad is insane. Like, it has such good output at range with the triple MG34. It's like a Hasogoyo Soroshuk, and what makes them so good is they have the 3 machine guns at range, but an MG34 is so much better than the machine guns that the Hasogoyo Soroshuk get. So, the Besatzung are way better at range than they are, and with the fanatical trait it just makes them even better. It's a really, really cool squad. They're quite expensive though. Availability is reasonable, 6 in A, 12 in B. Obviously you can outvet them a little bit as well, but you do lose quite a lot upon outvetting them, so probably keep them at standard vet. But yeah, very, very cool squad for sure. And that's all your infantry. So infantry is like really, really big thing in this new DLC. Like the French get their really cool infantry as well. Let's move on to the tank tab. Now this is where things start to go down the hill a little bit. You can see that the Panzer 35 is available in phase A and B. It's a little AP shell on its 37mm gun, only has 30 mils of penetration, so it's probably good enough to kill half tracks, and that's about it. But I guess it's like a hard target for infantry to kill, so it can be used as like a little machine gun bunker that follows your infantry around. I wouldn't really recommend it. I think the Panzer 39H is a much better choice, mainly because of the AP shell actually has 50 mils of penetration, which gives it much better chance of penetrating side armor of like medium tanks potentially, and its HE and so on is just nicer. It's got a little bit extra front armor and side armor, so this thing's just a bit more of a stronger tank for the infantry support role. Then there's 2 cards of Stugs. You've got the Stug 3G, which is only available in phase A. That goes the same for the Panzer 39. It's only available in phase A. And the Stug 3G, which is also only available in A. So all of their armor comes in A, and you don't really have any for the rest of the game, which leaves you very, very light on armor compared to a lot of other divisions. But moving on, we have the support tab. So you can get 50mm mortars, nothing really special here. The Axis divisions on the Axis side, their 50mm mortars lack range. They've only got 520m range, which is kind of sad. So yeah, not the best mortar choice. Then there is a very cool squad here. The Kriegsmarine Kützenpolizei. Very, very nice uniforms on these guys. I really, really like those. They have MP28s, 5 MAS 36s, and an FM 2429. So actually, you know, reasonable DPS at mid-range for, you know, a 15-point squad. But I feel like the availability is something that is a bit bad. And honestly, you're probably not going to be using the disheartened troops in this division over some of the other choices you have, so these don't really find a place, but a very cool unit for sure. Then there's the Crixberlin MG08, sorry. This has, you know, relatively good DPS. It's just the equivalent of a Maxim, right? So there you go. Then we got the MG34. This does have the 1250m range, but why take MG34s when you've got MG42s as well? So bear that in mind. Again, transports are nothing special, if you guys are wondering. DMA's, Tractions, Lafleys is pretty much the same for most units. I did quickly go over this unit, the Yugoslavian 75mm gun. It's, yeah, pretty trash. I mean, I guess it's not that bad. I mean, it has 10 round per minute rate of fire. It's not as good as some other infantry guns. And it's actually is really terrible. It does have a heat round, though, which can do some damage at 70 mils of penetration. Yeah, not the best infantry gun in the world. Then there's the Opel Blitz for supply options. Then you've got IG-33s. These can be brought in the Mortar SDKZ7. And the Lafley S35. So, yeah, cool, long range infantry support gun. Very, very good for controlling open range. And it is one of the long range guns that maintained the 2000 meter range. So that is a big advantage in long range engagements against infantry. And tanks, for that matter. Then we have the commander options. It's going to be the BMW R75, the Traction, or the Commandant on foot. So, yeah, not the best commander options in the world. These, both the BMW and the Traction, are very weak because they have no armor. And then the Commandant, I guess, is probably just your best bet. Let's move on to the anti-tank. So the anti-tank's very like ad hoc. There's like a lot of like different cards here, but you only get like one card of each. So there's the 47mm here, the Italian AT with 47mm shells that fire pretty fast, like 20 round per minute rate of fire with 62% accuracy is nothing to you know, shun, but the penetration is really bad. So it's only really good for killing transports very quickly in defensive scenarios. And the HE shells are pretty trash. They do less than 1 damage a hit. Then we have the Panzer Jaeger Rso. This is actually not as bad as it used to be because it has 10mm of frontal armor now. And that basically means that it doesn't get killed by like arms fire like it used to. And since it's a Pak 40, it does maintain the 1750 meter range. So against things like T-34s and Shermans, this can actually outrange them. So the Panzer Jaeger is much better than it used to be, like way better. But you probably want to turn off the HE shell so it doesn't reveal itself, because it's still going to be relatively weak to artillery, and will probably just get one shot by any tank rounds that do land on it. So yeah, it's a weak but quite powerful main gun to have on like on a weak hull basically. Then we have the Pak 36 76. This is actually a relatively decent AT gun. It has 130mm of penetration with 40% accuracy at 1500 meter range. So yeah, that can penetrate some seriously big targets, or like bigger targets, maybe not quite getting through the front armor of an IS-2, but certainly the side armor, with 8 damage, you know, this is a pretty nice option. And the damage on the HE shells is 3.8, and it has indirect fire capability. So this is a really cool gun. I like it a lot. You can get 4 in A, 6 in B, and 8 in C. It'd be nice if you could get more availability in the later phases, but it is what it is. Then there's a Marder available, again only in Phase A. Like a lot of the vehicles and armor that you can get are all Phase A in this division. So the Marder's available as well. This has obviously the standard Pak 40 gun on it with the APCR. Again, weak hull, good gun. Maintains that 1,750 meter range, which is nice. So just good ambushing units. Keep them in light cover, both the Panzer Jaeger Rso and the Marder one, and you can get a lot of good use out of them. Then there's your standard Pak 40s. You can get them in A and B, and then there's Pak 43s as well, A and B, which we've both seen before. Of course, the Pak 43 does have the 230 millimeters of penetration, which is really, really nice. Then we have anti-air. So here we go. This is what the Verteidigungsbereich is really like kind of focused around. It's like big anti-air and artillery. So we're getting to the good stuff here. We're going to be starting though with the Flak 38 20mm. Now what's really cool about this is there is this little transport truck. Of course, this is just like a standard 20mm, but if we go down to like Phase A, we can see that this Arschlepper is very cool. It's just a little box tractor. This guy can barely see where he's going. Yeah, it's just really awesome that they like modeled this into the game. I don't know how useful it's going to really be. 35 km/h speed off-road, 40 km/h speed on-road. It's going to make anything that you use with it coming quite slowly. So, yeah, there you go. But it is funny, so props to that. Then we have the Flak 36 available in A, B, and C. This, again, can be brought in with the Schlepper and some other options as well. Then we have the French Black M36. This is not the best anti-aircraft gun. It is technically dual purpose because the HE can fire at ground targets, but it doesn't have any AP shells. There is no penetration value on this unit, which makes it quite a bad option, especially when you have things like the Flak 88 and the Flak 105 that we'll get to in a bit. Then there's the card of Flakvelings, again Phase A, B, and C. You can get loads and loads of AA in this division. Then we have a card of Flak 88s. These do have like the AP shell that maintain the 2,000 meter range, 160 millimeters penetration, really, really good at ripping apart medium armor. I did have a rate of fire nerf recently, just to make it a little less dominating at range. But yeah, now with a little bit less rate of fire, basically it can get overrun much easier by medium armor when they close the distance, because AA units do take more suppression from tanks, I believe. So yeah, that's your standard 88. But now for the new stuff. First of all, the Flak-Zwilling 37mm. So this is a dual 37mm, so it's like the Flak 36-37, but there's two of them. And yeah, it fires very, very fast, good rate of fire. You can see there, can put out a lot of damage very quickly. With decent veterancy, this can slice aircraft out of the sky single-handedly. A lot like an SDK Z71 or a Flak-Zwilling could, but at longer range. So yeah, that's really the benefit of the Flak-Zwilling over something like a Flak-Zwilling, is that the range is much more beneficial. You get a lot more time on target, big shells, lots of damage. Really, really nice anti-air unit. Then there is the Flak 38 105. So you think the Flak 88's cool, and then the 105mm version comes along, and this thing is an absolute beast. So this has, of course, the super long 3,000 meter range versus aircraft, but it has a very good AP shell with 205 millimeters of penetration with 12 round per minute rate of fire. So this thing is ridiculously good against medium and heavy tanks. It's very, very strong. And you're going to want to make sure you pin down these with artillery if you come up against them before you engage them, because you will not have a good time if you try and charge one of these down. The HE is also decent, and yeah, of course the bullets, yeah, the shots that go against aircraft, I think do slightly more damage, so 4.5 damage there as opposed to 4 damage. So this is a lot more likely to be banging aircraft out the sky in one shot, which is really cool. So there you go, some big old AA options here from the Verteidigungsbereich. Then we have the artillery tab. Again, more big guns are here. So first of all, the Beobachter, your standard recon radio artillery squad, just good spotters basically. Then we got the Br21, pretty standard stuff. Some machine gun Kar-98s. 81mm mortars, you get 2 cards of these, standard availability. There is the Yugoslavian SFH-317. It's a 100mm artillery piece with radio, which is really nice actually. So 5 damage that can be used with corrected shot is actually pretty decent. 6 round per minute rate of fire, 75 points. Decent value for money for sure, but lacks smoke grenade or smoke shells. So that's where this comes in, the Italian M16 instead. So again, has radio, has 5 damage, but also has smoke. So that's a really nice option for 80 points. If you want to pay the extra 5, you can get some smoke support, which can be useful for supporting your infantry, and that's going to be quite important because that's where most of your pushing is going to come from, since armor is quite lacking. Then we have the good old French Schneider 105. This has 105mm HE shells and smoke again. Slightly more damage, so technically a better option than the Geb. As you can see there, the stats slightly better. Although I guess this accuracy is not as good, but I'm not sure if this really affects the dispersion of the artillery unit. It depends mainly on if you're firing direct fire. So technically this thing's quite accurate direct fire, whereas this isn't. I'm not sure if it affects the dispersion too much, the accuracy. Then there's also, of course, the SK100s, really nice option for 80 points, of course. Again, standard sort of... Actually, I guess the availability of the SK100 is actually lower than it used to be. I don't know if that's just affecting this division or other divisions as well, but yeah, interesting. Also, this can act as a kind of AT gun, should you really need it. And then there's the good old Seaplanes, the BEO AR196A3, which does come with 2 50kg bombs, as well as bringing the off-map. So I believe this has 3 strikes, and it's 138mm off-map. So yeah, it's okay. It will do some damage, of course. But the main thing that I find with the biplane artillery is that they do get shot down quite easily by limited AA, and also like just a single fighter giving it a little strafing run. And you're very unlikely to use it as like a mini bomber here until you've actually used up its artillery. Then we have the 120mm mortars. You can get a card of these, 90 points pop. Then there is the SFH-404, another Italian gun, the M19, with 149mm heat rounds and HE shells, of course, with 7.5 damage, which is quite nice. But the ML20 we get down here slightly pips that. So yeah, a cool unit for sure. With the indirect fire, with the radio corrected shot, plus the heat round. Heat round though, only 750m range, so probably not going to use it. But having smoke's cool as well. So yeah, nice long range artillery piece. We do have another of the Seaplanes. This one comes with off-map artillery, which is a coastal gun, 340mm. Very, very big artillery. But I think it only comes in 2 strikes. And the dispersion, since there is a limited amount of shells, is not that great. So it will pin down a big area, but the actual potency and damage it does to other units is going to be very dependent how accurate the shots land, and like I said, the dispersion's quite large. Then we have the ML20s that I already pointed out. The difference mainly between these two is that one has smoke and one doesn't. That would be like the biggest reason that you might want to pick this over the ML20. But otherwise the ML20 is just like straight up better because of the extra damage and blast. So yeah, ML20 is good. One thing I will note is that you do only have like 8 Mortiers, so if you're going to bring like a lot of this artillery, you could potentially like fill out the artillery tab with 3 cards of these SFHs and then like the ML20s. So you could do like something like this, which would be kind of crazy. But you'd have to be very wary of supply if you were going to do that. Alright, moving on to the air tab. So first of all, the ME410. This air tab's like obviously not great, but there's a few interesting options here. Your standard Recon ME410 just has the guns on the sides, and that's about it. Then there's the BF109 G6R1, has a 250 kilogram bomb. Nice for kind of just sniping 5 health support weapons. Might struggle to kill like a 6 health or 7 health support weapon in one strike, but can be done if it hits very accurately. And you get 2 of these in A, 4 in B, 8 in C, so decent availability. Then there's the BF109 G6U4, which is nice. This is a really good BF109 because it has a 30mm gun in its nose, which is very, very strong. And this can really do a lot of damage very quickly with that 30mm against like other things like Focke-Wulfs and so on. Focke-Wulfs might beat it still in a head-on because the BF109 has worse resilience than a Focke-Wulf, but ultimately, like the 30mm is just so fast at killing things, and the aircraft itself is also very fast at 590 km/h speed. I don't know why you'd be heading on Focke-Wulfs anyway. I don't know why I said that, because obviously this is an Axis division. But yeah, heading on things with a lot of guns, you know, this is still relatively weak in comparison to that. So like something like a P47 would be a good example. 850 cals might just shred this out of the sky. But if this gets on the back of a P47, that P47 is going down just as quickly. Moving on, we have the DO-217. This comes with a payload of 50 kilogram bombs, 26 of them, 425 km/h speed, so a reasonably fast bomber, to be honest. But the payload sucks, to be quite frank. It really does. And only medium resilience is kind of trash as well, so not the best bomber in the world. Then we have the Ju-88, which is okay. It has 2 500 kilogram bombs, cool camo. It has the 360 km/h speed, but the best thing about a Ju-88 compared to like a DO-217 is, of course, the very good resilience. So this is a lot more of a tanky beast. But only 1 available in Phase A. It jumps up to 4 in B, so that would probably be the sweet spot as to when you'd want to bring these in. Then there's the Me109 G6r6. This has, you know, standard armament of the 20mm under the wings, so you got the gun pod there with the 20mm in the nose and the 2 machine guns. These come 4 in A, 6 in B, and 8 in C. Having 4 of these in A is actually pretty big compared to the 2 available from the G6U4s, so bear that in mind. Then there is the BF109 G6 Br21. This comes with the 2 210mm rockets. These can be quite unreliable for taking out support guns. Quite often they can miss and not do enough damage, and the unit that you're trying to kill will just move out of the flames afterwards. So I would say these are nice in a pinch to kind of like dislodge a AT gun that's kind of caught you out, but otherwise they're not my favorite rocket planes at the moment. They can be actually relatively useful though, I will say that, for killing tanks that are low on health. So do maybe think about using it for them, but you got a better anti-tank option in the aircraft, and that is the Focke-Wulf 190 with Panzerblitz rockets, which is really cool. These Panzerblitz rockets are very strong, mainly because the Focke-Wulf carries 12 of them, which makes them very likely to hit. And so you can one-pass enemy tanks with these, and, you know, two-pass maybe like a heavy tank. with one of these. So yeah, very, very strong Focke-Wulf. You can get 1 in A, 2 in B, and 4 in C. And to get the most of these, make the most of these, having them in C is probably the best option in my opinion. So that's your air options. But we're not done there, because whilst I kind of briefly went over the defenses in the 1E DFL, this time around we actually have some new defenses. So I think the last time we saw defenses added to the game was actually Burning Baltics with the Panther. But now we have some other ones, which is cool. So of course you've got barbed wire, gun pits, trenches, MG42 bunkers, but there's also now the Panzerschterlong Panther 2 turret. So this thing, when you put it in the ground, it will have some ground around it like this. The camera can be a bit dodgy in the armory sometimes, but basically it will look like that. And the interesting thing about this Panzer 2 turret is it only fires AP shells. So I'm not sure quite how useful this is going to be. It might be nice against like the AI when they throw sort of half tracks close to you, or maybe even like just transports and so on. But the range is obviously very limited. I'd very much like it if they change this to HEAP, so that it can do damage to infantry as well. That would be kind of nice. Then it would actually make it a very decent bunker. Obviously you don't have like the MG active either, so you know, I think this one definitely lacks use. But then you've got the Panzerschterlong R35, and this thing is interesting because it's loaded out with HE shells only. So useful against infantry at the 1,000-meter range, and I guess can plink at tanks to try and do some damage to it, but with 0.75 damage it's going to take you a very long time to kill a tank with these HE rounds. But yeah, it can be useful for pinning infantry whilst not doing much damage, and it is obviously a hard point that is difficult to get rid of. So I like this option a lot more. For 30 points though, it's quite expensive. Then we have the Panzerschterlong S35. It's like a similar turret. This actually has 70 mils of penetration at 1,250 meter range. So this is a really nice anti-transport, anti-half-track. Emplacement is going to struggle obviously with the heavier tanks, like more medium and heavier tanks, but will be able to take out light vehicles. So yeah, definitely something that I feel like is going to be a decent defensive structure. And that's it for like all of the unique ones, but I do think this is a little bit overpriced since it doesn't have any like HE option or its machine gun active. Then you've got of course the Pak 75 bunker, which is, you know, premium. So yeah, definitely you want to bring those if you're ever going to play Breakthrough. But yeah, that is it for the Verteidigungsbereich. We will go ahead and build up a deck. It was funny how the guys got dug in there in the ground due to the defenses. So yeah, we'll go ahead and build ourselves a division now. I'm probably going to keep it balanced. I feel like it's ideal. You could maybe go Juggernaut if you wanted to do like a hella arty spam, but I think for the most part balance is fine and would work well in Breakthrough, which this division seems to be kind of made for. So yeah, let's go through it. So I don't think the Sharpshooters are necessarily worth it. You're probably just better off bringing in Fuselage. So I'm going to bring in some Fuselage in Phase A, and we're going to bring in the MEK in Phase B, just because I really do want to try them out. I haven't really had a chance to try them out yet. I did play one game, and same as before, I did build a deck previously, but I didn't actually bring them out onto the field when I was playing. So I've still yet to really give them a good test myself. It might be worth bringing out like another squad of Fusiliers at some point, like another card, but I'm going to leave those cards for now just to see if we have extra points at the end. So in the infantry tab, we obviously want the Marrow squads. I think we're going to do Marrow squads in Phase C just because we get so many of them, which is really nice. And I'm going to do Brandenburger in Phase B, again, just so that I get the maximum amount of them. We've got the KM Besatzung. I'm actually going to bring these in Phase A, I think. Even though, like, bringing them in Phase B would be nice, but with the Brandenburger there, I don't think we really need them. So we'll push them in Phase A. Right, let's have a look at what else we can bring in. So the KM Pioneers, I think these could be useful early on, or later on. So it's a hard choice. I don't think we necessarily need them later. I think Phase B might be ideal for the KM Pioneer, just so that we have the Panzerschterlong in the mid game to help with potentially the loss of like some tanks and so on. Okay, what else do we want? Probably some KM Marine Infantry, especially in like Phase A, just to hold the front line. Not really worth bringing them in the Lafley, I don't think. That can be used to pull bigger guns, so you probably want to save your Lafleys for pulling in things like the IG and so on. So we'll get some of those in Phase A. We're going to want some leaders, so our options are the Grundführer and the KM Führer. I think Grundführer in Phase A is fine, and in Phase B I'm very tempted to go for the KM Führer, just because they do have the double MG34, which is nice to back up some of your other squads. Also, it's a very unique squad, so I think in this case I might make an exception. Usually I would go for the 6 Grundführer. There is, you know, another 2 activation slot here, so probably want to add some late game infantry. I also probably want some other infantry in Phase A as well, so I think we'll probably fill out the infantry tab in this one. Citrons in Phase C seems like a good shout, good option to back up the Maro squads, I think. Because of the Granatbuchse, so it can help with if you're being like overrun by half tracks and so on. But the Pioneers, Stone Pioneers, I'm just having a quick look to see if there's anything that I'd rather have. I think the Citrons are fine for Phase C, so we'll put them in there. Then we have one more card in Phase A. I'm thinking probably the Grenadiers of Panzerfaust. Mainly because they have the Panzerfausts. So I think that's just going to be useful. This is a very limited amount of infantry though in Phase A. I could also just do like another Marine Infantry, or we can get like extra availability Grenadiers here. Let's do that instead. There we go. That should be a bit better. Alright, let's move into the tank tab. We do get Stugs. I am still tempted to upvet these, even though we get a very little amount of them. Mainly because 3-star Stugs at the moment are super strong. They do maintain the 1,750 meter range, so that's an extra 250 meter range over T-34s and Shermans. Makes them very good at killing them, so that's really, really nice. And I think the Panzer 39 is actually a good choice, so I'm going to bring that in Phase A just to support infantry at close range. Then we have support. The IG-33 is a nice choice. You can bring that in with the Lafley, which does make it get to the front line a lot quicker. The SDG Z7s are reasonably fast as well, but I think the Lafley is just straight up better. So we're going to bring in the IG-33. I think it's the best infantry gun option that we have. I'm also, of course, going to be bringing in some MG42s. I would think about betting these, but I think having the availability is really nice. So I'm going to pop these into Tractions, and we're going to use some of those so that we can get MG42s into a good position early on. For my commander, I'm probably going to pick the commandant because the other 2 are weak to artillery fire, and I think that's about it. We probably want to come back and add some supply once we've done our artillery tab. Then we got the anti-tank, so I definitely want to try out these. We're going to bring them in Phase A since they don't scale very well through the phases. We'll get those in Phase A in the DMA trucks. We'll bring in Pak 43s in Phase B in Lafleys because they're the fastest transports for them. And then we'll bring in the Pak 40s here as well in Phase B, just to make sure we have plenty of availability. Then the Marder, Panzer Jaeger, it's tempting to bring both of these, but it's 3 points. I mean, I might just even take this out for now because that was a 3-point card. We'll go into the anti-air and we'll go from here. So we definitely want these 105s. I'm not sure if I want one in Phase A though. I feel like bringing them in Phase B and C would be nice to get the maximum like availability balance out of them. Especially since 88s you can bring 2 in Phase A. So I think I'm going to do this. We'll bring in the 88s in Phase A, and then we'll do 88 or the 105s in B and C with the Lafleys to bring them in because they are the fastest trucks. Okay, we definitely want to bring in the Flak, but I think I'm going to bring it in Phase B again with the Lafley. And then we're going to want to think about potentially like Flak fillings in phase A just to back up AA. That would use up the last 1 point slot. And it could be fun to just bring them in the schleppers. Just for memes. I feel bad if I leave this out. Yeah, okay, we'll bring in some in phase A. I don't know if I can bring myself to bring them in the schlepper, but we'll do it anyway. Alright. So that's our anti-air done for now. Let's go into the artillery. So I think, you know, for the price, this isn't like the worst off-map in the world. So I'm kind of tempted to bring it in phase A. I think biplane off-map is generally best used in the early phases when there's less AA on the ground. So we'll bring it in then. As for our artillery, I think I'm going to use these guns in phase A. Again, we could actually bring these in the schlepper. Yeah, let's do that instead of bringing in the flak fillings, because I think the flak fillings, you know, they actually need to get to the front line relatively quick. So we'll use the Lafleys for those. But yeah, artillery, we can bring in these. That is fine. I could, in fact, supplement an infantry squad or an infantry leader for the Battleführer so that I can get another infantry in the infantry tab. But I'm not sure if we're going to do that for this one. I'm going to bring in the ML20s, and I'm going to bring them both in the multi-munitions. So that's going to be like my late game artillery. And then we're going to want probably some like mid-game artillery as well, just to kind of start counter battery. I mean, maybe I could just bring in like a second card of these in phase B. The thing that's kind of bad about these compared to the Yugoslavian gun is that the rate of fire is a bit worse. So, but the smoke's nice. So I think like having those in A is better. I'm also kind of tempted to bring in some mortars, but there's no radio on these mortars, so it makes them a lot less desirable. This has a 6 round per minute rate of fire, so I think maybe we go with that instead. And we could actually bring those in phase B. Let's do that. Okay. So we're going to need at least phase A and probably C supply. What's the rounds like on these? They've got 30 rounds, so I think that'll be okay. We've still got to leave room for aircraft, so let's move on to aircraft. I do want to bring in the G6 U4s. I'm probably going to bring them in phase B, and I'm also tempted to bring in the G6 R6s in phase A, with the Focke-Wulfs definitely in C, and then potentially some bombers. Although I think instead of bringing these in A, it might be better to just do these in A, the fighter bombers, so that we actually have some, you know, capability of hitting enemy ground targets with our aircraft. So now the choice is, where do we want to put our last few points? Because there are options obviously in the anti-tank tab. We've got the Marders that could be a nice choice, or the Panzer Jaeger Rso. In the support tab, I think that's not really a good choice. We could put in some of the Panzer 39s to help with infantry support. I think personally we could probably go for some Marders. I think that would be the best bet, just for some early game AT support. Because late game, once you set up the Flak 105s and you've got the 88mm Pak 43, you're going to be able to shut down enemy medium and heavy armor play, I think. So I think this looks okay. It's not, it's obviously like still a work in progress, I will say that. But for now, we'll name this the Verteidigungsbereich Toulon, and we'll save that. We also, of course, want to put in some of these defenses. Let's make sure we do that as well. Can't miss out on the defenses. Definitely put in the pack bunkers. We'll put in these. I'll put in one of these, and we'll put in some of these. All right. Should definitely have more. Well, let's have less of these and more of these. More MG bunkers, because MG bunkers are really good. And I don't know if trenches are really not that necessary. Maybe I could take out a card of these, add some trenches. And the nice thing about the trenches is they do give you like a better defensive bonus than buildings at the moment, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Either way, that is it. Verteidigungsbereich Toulon complete. And hopefully you got a good idea of all of the different units available in the division. I think it's a very cool division. I really like the new AA units. The Flak Zwilling and the Flak 38, very cool indeed. And having like a lot of mix and match artillery and anti-tank options and so on makes this a really interesting division, and some great infantry options as well, especially with those Fuselage Squads and the Brandenburger. So that's it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, I will get some gameplay for you guys soon, but that's it. Goodbye.